Now we are officially at the place where we got to watch out for traps. So I know what they are doing here. They're trying to mess with us. We have to be careful of how we think about this graph, right? This is the graph of f of x minus 11. So this is a line, but it's a line that's been changed. So we have to unchange it. We have to undo that shifting. And a lot of you are just going to think this through. My advice, pick a point and test it out. Let's at least take care of that piece, right? So here we have a point of 0, -4, right? So 0, -4. Now, if I plug that point into this equation, then -4 is equal to f of 0 minus 11. Be very literal about this, right? That point, 0, -4, is an x and a y coordinate that goes on this equation that they gave us. So just plug in for the x and the y. And even though it's f of x, it's still an x. So we still plug in. Now, what this allows me to do is understand this translation in a way that I think is going to prevent any errors, because now my instinct is to get f of 0 alone. That's kind of like the thing I want to solve for. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides. 11 minus 4 is 7. So I get 7 is equal to f of 0. And what this means is now in the actual f equation, which is what all of these answer choices are, there's a point 0, 7 that I want to be on this thing, right? So we have to be able to also understand that function notation is just another way of writing x and y points. And since plug points into equations is our main math strategy, being able to recognize points all over the place, really important. Here we're taking a point off a graph, then we're changing it, then we're getting a point out of function notation. Two very weird ways of getting points, but very essential for the PSAT and SAT. Now I would just plug in 0, 7 and see what happens, right? So if I plug 0 into choice A, I get 0 minus 11. So that's not the right thing. Here I would get 7, here I would get 7, here I would get -11. So this didn't work out perfectly, but it got me down to 2 answers. At this point, I could try to think what's going to happen to this graph. The only difference between the two choices is the slope. So I can start to think, is the slope going to change in any way? Is it going to be the same? In this case, it's the same because it's a shift up and down. The whole line moves as a unit. We're not changing its shape in any real way. So we can kind of find the slope pretty easily. We go down 4, right? Down 4, right 2. So down 4, right 2 is down 2 over 1, which is the slope in B. So there you go. But we don't have to do that. We have another point right here, right? So what if we did the same thing we did up here down on another point, right? So that would be the original point now is -2, 0. And we would say 0 is equal to f of -2 minus 11. Add the 11, add the 11. So 11 is equal to f of -2, which means we're dealing with the point -2, 11. And if we put that in, so -2 times -2 plus 7 is 4 plus 7, which is 11. So that works, but let's try C. -13 times -2 plus 7 is 26 plus 7. So that's what, 33, way too high. So this method works. We could just choose another point, or if we understand more conceptually what's going on, at least now we don't have to worry about the bigger trap that they were trying to set for us, which was that we messed up the 11, right? There's a chance that we kind of go the wrong way with this, and that might, happen on other harder versions of this question. I feel like the -11 here is actually not so bad, because the only other thing you could maybe do is you could do the -4 and go down 11 in the wrong direction, but that would be -15, which isn't really a choice here. But I'm thinking ahead to harder versions of this question where there's going to be even bigger traps. So this plug points into equations method is going to prevent that no matter what. But regardless, we're given equations, we're given a graph that has points. So plug points in equations certainly comes to mind for me. I want it to come to mind for you as many times as possible. You really want that to be your main strategy.